continuing with our legal research project material, let me remind you again, ultimately we step through each of these projects in terms of event, issue, research, rule, then analysis, then conclusion. And so each of our postings is kind of a rough draft of the final opinion we're ultimately going to issue. So you're doing it in two different things, and I want you to make sure that you're kind of ready to post. You'll only send one final opinion in one of the problems. All right, so as you're working on this, you may decide, here's the one I want to do, but you should be ready to write them in both. So anyway, as we look at number 5, I'm not going to read this one to you, but look at some of what we've got going on here. For instance, Dale, this guy that people maybe are saying, hey, we think this guy's drunk or he's showing up with liquor on his breath. He's the night accounting supervisor. So let's look at human resources. Some of us don't necessarily think about employees as being valuable. These are fungible goods. Well, he's got maybe a wife and kids at home, or a significant other people who are dependent upon him. There's a lot of stuff that could be going on. All right, let's look again. Night accounting supervisor. This is ordinarily not somebody we hire off the street. This is somebody who maybe has 8 to 12 years or more at our bank or a competing bank or in the industry. This is somebody that's in a position of authority. So let's assume, let's go ahead and assume the worst. Person has an drug or alcohol problem. Do we just fire them? Well, one of the leading authorities on the recovery from alcoholism, Alcoholics Anonymous, says no. Try to get them into treatment. Give them a chance to get over this, because, believe it or not, we in Alcoholics Anonymous have found a way to get past this. You can go to an open AA meeting and you'll hear people in there saying, the last time I had a drink was 35 years ago. I recognized my problem. I followed the program of AA, and I'm a better person. My life's better, blah, 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 blah. Well, that person kept their job, maybe. Now, some of them you're going to hear, well, they got fired. Well, here's the deal. If we give this person a chance and they can't get better, we do have the power to fire them. All right, so let's look at, I've kind of given you an outline here. ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, according to regulations and administrative review, treats alcoholism as a disease, okay? And we need to accommodate that. This is a sort of disability. And so what we have to do is make reasonable accommodations for them. Well, that may mean, we need AA as part of our program. You'll find that a lot of HR systems include what's called an EAP, Employee Assistance Program. And alcoholism is kind of the tip of the iceberg, if you will, of mental disability brought on by yourself or by genetics or whatever. Some people are really unhappy, they've got depression, they've got other matters going on. Let me look briefly, is this alcoholism? Well, first of all, you've always got to look at the accusers may be the real problem here. Who's saying this guy's showing up drunk? Do we have real visual evidence of it? Is it corroborated? Are the people who are saying he's a drunk seeking his job? One of the best ways to get somebody else's job is to start a false rumor about them in a workplace. Next thing you know, they're in trouble. Those of us who don't know who Silas Marner is, it's a George Eliot book, and The man suffered from catatonia, so that he would be awake but appeared to be sleeping or not really dead. One of the things we've got to talk. Another thing we have to talk about here is how do we investigate alcoholism or mental illness or family trouble. Maybe this guy's going through a divorce, or his significant other is having some major health issues, or one of his kids is getting bullied at school or whatever, and he's carrying it into work. EAP, the Employee Assistance Program, may help him get through this. And so we're usually better off accommodating somebody. If this guy truly is alcoholic and he shows up drunk again, we should fire him, because we need to send this person a message that that kind of behavior is unacceptable. It also tells all of our employees who are on the wagon that that's the way to behave. We don't accommodate alcoholics. We try to make them better. If they can't get better, we fire them. In terms of investigation techniques, do we confront him? Do we, as the boss, confront him? I think that's probably a bad idea. What we may want to do is send him over to HR. HR is better able to handle, hey, do you have a problem? We've got the EAP program. If you're having alcohol issues, and we're getting reports that you are, you need to go talk to this counselor. They can send them off for that and get them evaluated, and we don't have to do it. We as supervisor don't confront them. We've always got problems when we're investigating an employee that we've fouled the whole investigative process. If you look at, if I'm a police officer and my wife gets charged with a crime, I can't get anywhere near the case. I got to get completely out of it. I could go do a great job investigating, but the problem is my testimony is suspect. So, as you're doing these things, think a little bit about how do we truly find out the truth here. So I think that covers that one pretty well. The next one is, we've got somebody who maybe has an internet gambling addiction or some kind of gambling addiction. They're called in twice for elimination game. There's a whole bunch of stuff potentially going on here. And I've listed some of them. Internet gaming may well be a federal violation. If this is going on at our workplace and we have no steps in place to stop people from doing internet gaming, we may actually be guilty of providing a platform for this guy to break the law. So how do we get around that? Well, most web browsers or web management systems have ways we can recognize, no, you're going off to a gaming site, or you're going off to a gambling site, or you're going off to a porn site, and we can block it. We've got, and you can get pretty good software that blocks it without people telling it. They click on the link and it goes nowhere. And I go, that link didn't work. It's the same thing as, can we, we may be able to enable spam links so that people in emails who click on links profusely don't infect our whole system. So it's pretty unlikely this guy's really doing it at work, but I think in your evaluation, you may want to look at, is this illegal? One of the things I've got discrimination in here. Like, what? Well, believe it or not, about 40% of all Fortune 500 companies have some kind of gambling that they utilize as employee bonding. It's things like the pick a square for the Super Bowl, pick a square, or 13-run pool for baseball. 13-run pool is something where if a team in Major League Baseball scores 13 or more runs, the pool pays to the person who held that team that day, and you rotate through all the teams. It's kind of fun. But I make an argument that maybe a lot of that gaming, if we look at it, is mostly male oriented. Are we really helping people bond, or are we excluding some people? We could also rewrite this to maybe have people who like Facebook or other social media. They're on Snapchat constantly. You know, is that theft of productivity? A lot of people think, well, I just check my Facebook at work. It's no problem. Yeah, but the next thing you know, you get 15 minutes, 30 minutes. You're downloading photos. Are you breaching the duty of loyalty? Yeah, I would say arguably you are. Um, most of us need to be aware that privacy rights in an office network are essentially zero. Your employer has the absolute right to look at everything you do online. You've essentially ceded any privacy interest to them, and you better be aware that that's what's going on. If this person does have a poker addiction, I think we're in the same sort of category. We need to get them help. If they can't help themselves, we may have to fire them. That's generally the better way to treat human resources. We want to keep you on, but if you won't help yourself, you won't seek the help we're offering. Too bad. See ya. We've got other people that can take care of this. All right, so this is, are we on number 7? Yeah, this is number 7, so I'll do one more on 8, 9, and 10. Here's a workout complex, and if you look, a lot of major companies have a workout complex. Well, one of the problems that, I don't know if girls have this problem, I can tell you that guys, this guy at least, I like to look at pretty women. I like their figures. I like to compare that stuff. Where's the line, if you will? Where I maybe crossed over, or this individual has crossed over to stalking, sexual harassment, sexual discrimination. What's going on here? So there's a lot going on here. This guy, this may not be man on girl or girl on man. Maybe this is the girl fantasy, but this could be, a homosexual predatory system. It might be a girl that's doing this. It might be a man. Is it possible for women to engage in stalking, or women to engage in sexual discrimination or sexual harassment? Yes. Okay. And so there's 2 types of sexual harassment. One is what's called the quid pro quo. If you do X, you get Y. If you will go with me for a weekend in the Poconos, you'll get a promotion, blah, blah, blah. The implicit thing is you're going to do what I ask you to do, and it may be sexual. The other one is hostile workplace. And hostile workplace is kind of morphed out into a bigger field. But if for instance, a coworker has a screensaver that is pornographic or semi-pornographic or nude photos or whatever, and it's always blaring, and the computer never goes to sleep with the ordinary individual. And this is another thing. This is more of a third-party standard. Would a reasonable fellow employee be upset by what's being shown? I would say yes. Then we've maybe made a hostile workplace. The remediation we have to do is to modify the workplace, get rid of that. I kind of skipped over this on ADA. The thing with ADA, if people have physical issues, we have to accommodate them, but if we can't change the workplace substantially to accommodate them, we don't have to do it. For instance, somebody in a wheelchair may not be able to track work at the railroad because of all the uneven terrain. Well, do we have to concrete the whole railroad? No. That's unreasonable for us to have to do that. But if we have to make a wider workspace for them, that may not be. Doesn't mean we have to add an addition. Then maybe we should if we have room. If we don't necessarily have to. Some of the solutions to this workout place thing, how are they going to know who's coming in where? Well, most of us have a key code or an employee swipe thing. We know who's going in when. And so this one maybe is relatively easy to identify. Again, look at things like, is this stalking? Well, what are the elements? Is it this, and this? Or is it this, and this, or this? So there's three of them you have to have, and then you can have the fourth one can be or. But you have to have all four to make it. So that's what I'm looking for in the in your evaluation of this. Thanks for listening. Go on to the next one. I'm going to take a breather.